So good morning and welcome to the Sunday celebration for the Centers for Spiritual Living Space Coast. My name is Reverend Dr. Ron Fox, and I welcome all the people here in person, people watching us today, and whenever you see us. And if there's anybody that's seeing this that's never been to a Center for Spiritual Living before, we believe there's one God, many paths to that God, and we're here to love, honor, and support you no matter what your divine path is. And the Center for Spiritual Living Space Coast is a safe haven for people of all beliefs and lifestyles, whoever you are and wherever you may find yourself on your journey of faith. You're welcome here. And this morning, once again, we're doing a hybrid service, so all those people here and people watching us on Zoom. And our practitioner this morning is my wife, Becky Fox, who's a practitioner emeritus, and I will be the reader. And we have a ministry of prayer here for anybody who would like us to pray for a friend, family member, themselves, whatever. We'd be honored to do it. All of our practitioners, Reverend Jenna, myself, just if you're here, fill out a form and put it in the box. And if you're not, you can give Becky or I a call, or Reverend Jenna would be glad to get it out to all of our prayers. I think that's really all the announcements I have, except to mention, if you look on Facebook sometime this week, my wife Becky is going to be doing a class on the book Emergence, and starting in September, you can find all the details out on Facebook. And with that, I'm going to call Becky up to open us with a prayer. Oh dear. There's still somebody around whose eardrums I didn't burst when I dropped the mic. Sorry.
Okay, so let's just center ourselves right now. Just go into that sacred, quiet place of the Most High. And in this place of gratitude, joy, and love, let us all listen to that still, quiet voice. In this place of love, I'm knowing my oneness in this wonderful, joyous place of God, the Spirit, whatever it is that you would like to call this higher self. And I'm knowing this for each person who is here, who is watching this, who will watch it as a recording later on, that each one of us is one in this stillness. That right here, each one of us finds our joy, finds this love. I'm knowing for each person here that God is everywhere. There is not a spot that God is not. And in this realization, and knowing that today is filled with this joyous, quiet voice, the stillness, this feeling of love that is filling us up. That right here, right now, in this moment, that as this moment unfolds, it's unfolding in divine perfection and in divine order. That wonderful, still voice is guiding and directing Reverend Dr. Ron and leading him in his message. It's touching my heart as it is each person's heart, deepening our consciousness, making each one of us aware of the spiritual part of us that guides us, that directs each one of us. And so for this and so much more, I give thanks. I release it, just knowing that it is done. And so it is.
So the reading this morning is, it's in my book, and it comes from a column that I used to write for Science of Mind magazine. And the title of the article is Quiet Time. As I was about to prepare this column, I paused to take a look at my calendar. This week, I have 3 conference calls, 4 meetings, a wedding rehearsal, a wedding, the deadline to prepare this column. I have to prepare 2 talks I'm giving to 2 groups next week and prepare my Sunday message and deal with the various day-to-day issues we all face. I know stress. After seeing the schedule, the first thing I did was go and meditate for an hour. It's so easy to let the world and its pressures move us off center. Fear and stress can not only impact our health, but we can't make our best choices when we allow our minds to be cluttered with what might happen instead of focusing on what needs to be done. Ernest Holmes reminds us, knowing that in this presence there is no tension, no struggle, no fear, there is no sense of conflict. In other words, when we connect with the divine presence, we find peace. So, when I feel like the world is falling on my head, I seek a place where there is peace and serenity, a place where I can become grounded in spirit. That is why when I felt overwhelmed by my calendar, I meditated. I needed to reconnect with my divine center. What I did not need to do was become so paralyzed with fear, I got nothing done. Obviously, meditation is not the only refuge from the daily grind. The next time you need to step away and center yourself, do something that brings you closer to spirit. Meditate, listen to music, take a walk on the beach or in nature, exercise, take a yoga class. Do whatever allows you to step back and gain perspective. Remember, you aren't in this alone. With every step you take, Spirit walks with you, offering to share the burden. Take advantage of the offer. Reflect on the words of Kabir. When you really look for me, you will see me instantly. You will find me in the tiniest house of time. So the title of my talk is Resting, but before I get into it, I forgot to do one announcement, and that is that after the service today, we're going to have a board meeting, and we have a couple of board members that need to be out on time, so we aren't going to have our discussion after the service today. We're going to go right to the board meeting to honor them so we can have a quorum to meet. So again, resting. So Sabbath, the word Sabbath in Hebrew means rest. You and I, we live in a fast-paced world, and we're inundated with all kinds of information. And we need time. We need to take the time to relax and to refresh. My friend, Reverend Cynthia James, talks about radical self-care. And what that is putting your needs first. Because when you do, there's more time to be available and compassionate with other people. If our own needs aren't being met, it's really difficult to reach out to somebody else. Ernest Holmes, the founder of the Centers for Spiritual Living, wrote, "In the midst of confusion, there is a place of peace. In the midst of sorrow, the joy of life persists." You and I need to seek out that joy and that peace. We need to take the time to find it and to let it blossom. You know, I was reading this week that the greatest fear people have isn't being alone in the dark. It's not public speaking. It's not any of them. It's the fear that they have no vision. And I'm going to get to that later. I just wanted to mention it now. And one of the reasons people have that fear is so many of us don't take the time to be reflective. And without that quiet time, life can seem empty and meaningless. Wayne Muller, who again I will talk about some more later, but Wayne Muller, in one of his books, writes about a friend of his who was becoming ill. And his friend said to Wayne that he felt a mixture of sadness and relief. He said, "At last, I can rest." How sad. Imagine feeling that you needed to become ill to get rest. You know, it's perfectly okay to do nothing. We don't break any laws when we invest in our own mental and spiritual health. The writer Barry Davenport said that many of us live an adrenaline lifestyle. She said, we believe the more we schedule, the more we multitask, the more and the longer we work, that we're more valuable to society. And if that's how we choose to live, if that's how we choose to spend our time, we don't leave any room for personal reflection, for creative endeavors. And she reminds us that the purpose of life isn't to produce, it's to live fully and joyfully. And when we do that, we serve the world a lot more than crossing things off a to-do list. As the writer Maurice Sendak wrote, after all, there's more to life than having everything. Eknath Easwaran was a disciple, the late Eknath Easwaran was a disciple of Gandhi. And in one of his books, he wrote that we're all in a hurry to save a few minutes. He said, we drive, we get in the car when we can walk somewhere. He said, we eat over-processed food that we need to microwave. And he said, and so what do we do with this extra time that we're so desperate to have? He said, it would be great if we used it to come to a fuller understanding of who we are and why we're here. He said, but oftentimes we just waste it on pursuits that do nothing to improve our life or the life of people in our life. The writer, Iris Krasno, kind of picks up on that idea. And she says, we need to reconnect with our soul. And she said, sometimes something as simple as a bath can help us do that. And she wrote, we can't allow ourselves to be pushed and pulled by everybody in our lives, so we don't have any time for reflection or solitude. And she said, so take a few hours, do something that makes you feel good about yourself. In the Tao, it is written, muddy water becomes clear by being still. So I spoke about Wayne Muller before, and I want to bring up something else he wrote. And he said that in the community where Thich Nhat Hanh lives, that a monk periodically rings a mindfulness bell, a mindfulness bell. And when that bell periodically rings, everybody stops and they take 3 silent, mindful breaths. And then they can go on about whatever they were going to be doing. So I have to tell you, Becky and I used to do that when we taught classes. Becky had a little bell that she would ring periodically every 15 minutes or so, and we would ask everybody to go into the silence. And I stopped doing it when I realized the only time she rang the bell was when I was talking. But actually, that's the truth. But I want to get back to being serious now. So we can choose something to do in our lives, like that mindfulness bell. We can choose a Sabbath pause and see how it works and how we feel. And one of the ways Becky and I do that, I don't know, can everybody, I don't know if you can see this, it's a bracelet that Becky and I wear, and it's called a meaning to pause bracelet. And I got this when I was doing, I heard about this rather, I was doing a panel for ordinations, and the person we were paneling, her bracelet went off. And I asked her and she told me about it. So what it is, you could set this bracelet to go off every 60 minutes or every 90 minutes. And all it does was buzz. And what Becky and I do each separately, when my bracelet buzzes, I just stop whatever I'm doing and I do something for 5 seconds on gratitude. Just like, thank you, God, thank you, whatever. And Becky does the same thing. It's just a way to stop periodically in our day and get ourselves centered. And then just go about what we're doing. So I mentioned before about the fear people have. And one fear that people have is if they stop and listen for that still small voice, they'll hear emptiness. They worry that they aren't good enough, and so they keep on keeping on. And Wayne Muller writes about somebody he knows that runs vision quests. And a vision quest, if you don't know what it is, it's in this particular one, they spend 3 days in the wilderness listening for what arises within them. And this woman said that the biggest fear people have isn't the dangers in the wilderness. You know, they're not worried about getting eaten up by a bear or a wolf or whatever. Their biggest fear is they will have no vision, that they'll have no vision. And, you know, the truth is that while busyness may make us feel safe, we're undernourished. We miss out on the quiet time. You know, Becky and I, when we lived in Southern California, we had a place that we would go to called the Quiet Creek Inn. And they called it that because there was a creek running through the place. And we would periodically go for a weekend to refresh ourselves. And we'd sit by the creek and meditate or journal. And one trip when we went there, we decided to test ourselves in silence. And so what we did, we went for 3 or 4 days, and every day from whatever time we woke up until noon, we stayed in silence and we separated and, you know, did whatever we did. And then we would come together at noon and spend the rest of the day together. And I'll just say, it was one of the most productive periods that we both had. When Becky is sitting here, you can't see it, shaking her head, yes. When we got home and shared our notes, I had more ideas on stuff to do, and Becky had more ideas to do with her art. It just, when we take the time and space to let the divine come through, good things always happen. Lao Tzu wrote, "Be content with what you have. Rejoice in the way things are. When you realize there is nothing lacking, the whole world belongs to you." So the late Rabbi Byron Sherwin wrote that life has lots of ups and lots of downs. There are cycles of growth and cycles of decay, cycles of success, cycles of failures. And he said there are also unpredictable events. And I want to give you a quote. I really like this quote. He said, "Life is like a blind date with a future populated by random events, by blessings and tragedies, by treasures and traumas, and by luck, good and bad." And he said, but the crises can be disguised as opportunities for renewal. Increased vulnerability can lead to increased potential. We in New Thought and the Buddha also, we taught the same thing, that we need to establish our happiness within our mind. And so no matter what is going on outside, we'll be happy and we'll be peaceful. Our power and our strength reside internally, inside. We live from the inside out. Somebody once wrote that peace isn't about being in a place where there's no noise, where there's no trouble, and where there's no hard work. It means to be in the midst of all of that and still be calm in your heart. So I wanted to talk about what can we do? What can we do to find this sense of calm and this sense of peace? So I want to talk about 3 ideas, and 2 of them we can try out together this morning. And the first one, which we won't try out, is visualizing. We can spend time going within, finding a quiet place, and visualizing a peaceful setting. I got hair in my eye that's driving me crazy. When I visualize what I do, when I want to find peace, I have this place I go to with our dog that used to be with us, and I visualize the 2 of us either walking in the woods or sometimes just me lying on the floor, petting him and him being there, and it's just a peaceful setting. See yourself in that setting and see the outcome that you would like to unfold, and make it as real as you can. You can close your eyes and you can see it, you can feel it, you can hear it, you can do it, anything that makes it alive to you, and then feel the peace that comes through to you. So a second one that I'm going to explain to you, and then we can try it a couple of times, is deep breathing. And a lady named Hara Estroff wrote that what deep breathing does is it clears our mind. And she said it doesn't cost anything. You don't need any special equipment to do it, and you can do it anywhere, anytime. So here's what she suggests we do, and then we'll, if you're open to it, we'll try it a couple of times. She said, put your tongue I'll just explain it first and then we'll do it. Okay, put your tongue on the roof of your mouth behind your front teeth, and then breathe in slowly through your nose to the count of 5, and hold that breath to the count of 7, and then release it through your lips to the count of 8. Okay, so I see people here shaking their heads. So why don't we, give it a shot. So put your tongue, I'll just lead you through it twice. Put your tongue on the roof of your mouth behind your teeth, and breathe in slowly through your nose to the count of 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and hold it for 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and let it go through your lips for the count of 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Let's do it one more time, okay? In through your nose. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Hold it for 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And let it go through your lips for 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So just for the people here, did that bring some peace? I see everybody shaking their head. Yes, and what she says is that by the 4th exhale, we didn't do 4, but that you'll become noticeably relaxed, and by the 10th, you'd become renewed. So it's just something so easy to do. And the last one that excuse me, I'll go through it first, and then we can do it together. Is a loving kindness meditation from a book by Jack Kornfield. So I'll go through it, and then we can do it, in silence, and just simply say, "May I be filled with loving kindness. May I be well. May I be peaceful and at ease. May I be happy." And then think of somebody you love and say, "May be filled with loving kindness. May that person be well. May that person be peaceful and at ease." So let's, I'll do it again, and we can do it in silence. May I be filled with loving kindness. May I be well. May I be peaceful and at ease. May I be happy. May the person I love be filled with loving kindness. May that person be well. May that person be peaceful and at ease. Doesn't that bring a sense of peace and ease? So the Italian psychologist Piero Ferrucci wrote, "We too often leave our souls behind. Caught up in urgency, we forget what's truly important in life. Pushed on by the demon of haste, we forget our souls, our dreams, our warmth, our wonder." So I think everybody knows Beck and I are going to take some time off for some R&R. And I saw a prayer this week on a friend's Facebook page that I'd just like to leave you all with for a couple of weeks. And it's a medicine woman's prayer. "I will not rescue you, for you are not powerless. I will not fix you, for you are not broken. I will not heal you, for I see you in your wholeness. I will walk with you through the darkness as you remember your light." God bless you. Have a great month. And we'll see you before you know it.
He's not watching.